Metrics is one of our means of capturing knowledge. Knowledge meaning something that's quantifiable, something that's real, something that's tangible, something we can use. Lord Kelvin, years ago, had a quote. It's pretty famous, pretty much quotable. And what he said was, if you can measure what you're speaking about and express it in numbers, you know something about it. But if you cannot measure it and you cannot express it in numbers, your knowledge is meager and unsatisfactory. Well, that goes for a lot of things. Now he's talking about the measurement component. So first of all, you've got to be able to quantify something and measure it, and to at least get started. And then the idea of metrics is taking those measurements and having study areas. Now, we defined in an earlier session what a metric was. And what the dictionary said, it's a study area. Well, one of the things, I want to kind of recite some things that you read in journals and people talk a lot about. And I want you to kind of think about it and think about some others. First one is this idea of mean time to restore, the idea of mean handle time, average speed to answer. So there's a whole raft of these. You hear people talk about what are kind of the key. What are the key performance indicators? What are the key performance measures? And it's all real good, but to kind of summarize, I hope you've thought of some other things that you're using today, but the whole idea of average speed to handle. And people talk about that as a metric. Now listen to me carefully. Average speed to handle, average speed to answer, they are not a metric. They are a description of one component of the metric. Take the example, speed to answer. That is the metric. And average is painting a picture about the speed to answer. So kind of the idea here is we've kind of gotten sideways, and you're starting to see I'm pretty picky about the words because the words become real important to us, and it's vital that we get this thing right. So kind of from the starting point, we need to understand what the metrics are. We'll talk more about building a metric blueprint and identifying study areas and how can we use them, what are performance metrics, what are outcome metrics, what are process metrics, what can you manage with, what can you react on. So we'll kind of get into that later, but the idea of this piece is to begin to study how to describe the metric. Now, as we do that, one of the things that's happened over the last few decades, metrics has become an important part of this thing. And with the advent of spreadsheets, you see lots of people doing metrics. They have spreadsheets. They have spreadsheets that analyze every agent. And they sit in their cube and they analyze the spreadsheets. And with the electronic age, they fire off chats and emails and text messages to people, tell them to go do stuff. And they never get up and walk outside their cubicle and find out what's really going on in the operation. Huge difference. Metrics were only a tool to gather information. It's not the only tool, it's not the end-all to end-all, and it doesn't replace getting up and going out and looking in your operation. You've heard the expression, there's some flaws with metrics. You've probably heard this expression, they're liars, they're damn liars, and they're statisticians. I've heard it attributed to Mark Twain and Winston Churchill. Several people have been said they quoted this, but it's a pretty good expression. Except what I would reframe this, I would rephrase it, and I would say they're liars, they're damn liars, and they're statistical wannabes. And that really is the essence of what we're trying to avoid, is teach you proper technique in grouping. So there are improper ways to do stuff, and there are proper ways to do it. And what we're going to do is going to break this into sections. The first section we're going to talk about is the proper, and in like fashion, what are improper techniques. This is the mechanics, the math, to paint a vivid picture. And kind of if we go back and think about average speed to answer, nothing wrong with it. Average speed to handle, not so much anything wrong with it. We'll talk more about it. But the idea that that's been around for over 100 years in the call center world. And we're still using the same old, same old. Well, what I want to do is we want to move metrics into the 21st century, and that's what this module, every component of this module is going to be about. We'll talk about how to describe in a more detailed fashion. It's like going in the 50s from black and white TV to color TV. It'll be our first step in the journey. We've got a lot of details to talk about, how to use it and why this is important, and we'll get those in upcoming sessions.